So how do we build a championship team? How do the Ravens do it? And how do we do the same thing? Well, for years now, the Ravens have been the most successful team in the NFL, but hadn't won any Super Bowls for the last 5 seasons. But they won more playoff games than everyone. Well, they were making their way up the chart to get to that Super Bowl, and we're working our way up to economic development championships, and I'll show you how. What did the Ravens do to get to the Super Bowl and win it? Well, they added some game-changing players to the team. They brought in Jacoby Jones, and they brought in a new kicker, Justin Tucker, who were very instrumental through the season and in the Super Bowl. Well, Paulding County is bringing in some game-changing players into our business community. The Intermodal Project, which we'll talk about in a little bit, led by Tim McGill, who is the president of North and South American Operations, as well as Ronchi, which is an Italian company that makes equipment for the bottling industry, and Michael Fassini, as well as Matthew Piercy, who is here today, who will make some comments a little bit later in the presentation. But those are game changers. Those are well-respected businesses coming in and making a difference in terms of our business community. The next thing you have to do is utilize your dependable veterans, the players that have been on that team and have been making a difference for years. In the Ravens case, it was Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. And here this year we saw Top Flight Aerostructures and Simmons Engineering, 2 of our long-standing manufacturers, expanding their operations and growing their business right here in Paulding. The next thing you have to do is hire what I would call knowledgeable and dedicated personnel. These are your coaches, your general managers, the folks that are the executive role and the coaching role. And so the Ravens had John Harbaugh and they had Ozzie Newsome and some others. Well, our coaching staff and our team consists of Mayor Austin and Mayor Debbie and Chairman Austin and Blake Swafford and Carolyn Wright from the Chamber. And I'll throw myself in there too. But that's all part of that team that's here to work with those players and make sure that they can be as successful as they can be. And then finally, you have to bring in what I call the scouts. These are the scouts that are out there looking for talent to bring in to the team. In the Ravens case, they have one of the best scouting groups in the NFL. Well, we're putting together a pretty good scouting team ourselves. And 3 of those key scouts for us are Mason Roundtree, Sheriff Gullich, and Commissioner Graham. Now I'll explain why. The Intermodal Project would not have come to Paulding County if it were not for Mason Roundtree, who was our attorney. Mason had a relationship with the company and the person conducting their site search. Paulding County was not even in the mix for this project, was not being considered for it. But because Mason was our attorney, he knew some of the opportunities that existed and what we were working on. So when he had dinner one night with the gentleman that was doing the site search for them, who was being frustrated because he couldn't find anything in the Atlanta area that would work. They had a couple sites in Fulton and Cobb and Douglas counties, but they couldn't really make it come together. Well, Mason said, you need to be talking to our economic development organization because they have something that you may find of interest. And the rest was history. We made the contact from there. Sheriff Gullich has a project that we're currently working with that we're very optimistic about that we're calling Project 89, which is a manufacturer. If that were to come to fruition, that would be the largest manufacturer in Paulding County. So we have folks out looking for prospects and businesses. Tommy Graham, Commissioner Graham, met the folks from Rocky. Rocky was looking over in Powder Springs. They were not looking necessarily here in Paulding County. Tommy called me and said, hey, I met a group that's looking for a facility. We got to get involved with these folks. We did. The rest is history. We need that scouting team to be out there looking for projects. We're out doing it, but you all are the scouting team, and we rely on you to help us identify those opportunities. By bringing that whole group together, we assemble a championship team, and it's one piece at a time. And that's how we're doing it at Paulding. And today you're going to hear about some of these projects that have happened. You're going to hear from some of the people that have been involved that have been actively working with us to bring jobs and investments to Paulding. Let's talk a little bit about the background of Paulding County Economic Development. We're only 2.5 years old. In March, we will celebrate our 3-year anniversary as an organization. And this group was set up to be a true public-private partnership between our local governments and the business community and the Chamber of Commerce. And I think we really have fulfilled that role pretty well in just a short time. But the idea is to have that partnership with the business community and to have it so that everybody has a voice in what happens in Paulding County from an economic development perspective. Before I get into what has happened in 2012, 2013, I want to remind y'all of some of the goals that we set for ourselves as a community when we started this. We wanted to create a business brand identity for Paulding County. When we started this process, Paulding County was really only known as a veteran community to Atlanta and to Marietta. It had no business identity at all. Yes, we had some great existing businesses here, but outside of Paulding County, a lot of folks did not recognize Paulding as a place that they would want to locate or operate their business. So we had to develop a brand, and that brand we wanted recognized as being extremely pro-business, knowledgeable in how to put deals together, that was responsive when companies called, and that we were dependable and we were tenacious. And I think we have done a pretty good job at meeting that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We also had to establish strong relationships with our economic development partners across the region and the state. Regionally, that would be the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, and statewide would be groups like Georgia Department of Economic Development, the Georgia EMC, which oversees the electric co-ops, and Georgia Power. So those are the groups that we consider our partners that can help bring business to Paulding County. They had to know about the opportunities that were here in our community. We also had to develop a portfolio of incentives to offer new and expanding businesses, things such as opportunity zones, property tax abatements, economic development grants. We had to be able to offer the same things that other communities were offering businesses. Those things did not exist back in March of 2011. The other key issue and item we lacked were quality industrial properties. We certainly didn't have any available buildings, and we still don't have very much in the way of available buildings. But what we had to work towards that we could address in the short term was sites that were attractive for companies to locate and expand to. So we had to plan some business and industrial parks. We also wanted to become one of the premier manufacturing locations in Northwest Georgia and Metro Atlanta in the first 5 years of operations, and then after that become that premier destination for the state of Georgia and the Southeast. That will be in 10 years. I think we're maybe a little bit ahead of schedule in that as well. We also wanted to expand the presence of international companies in Paulding. Those companies internationally coming in and setting up shop here would be bringing in dollars from outside the area, certainly because they're international, but it also elevates the profile of the community. So expanding the international presence was key. We also wanted to target jobs and investments in particular industrial sectors and business sectors that we believe were a good fit for Paulding, or that related to some of the assets we had in place that they would find attractive. So first and foremost for us was the aerospace industry with our airport and our location within one of the largest clusters of aerospace companies in the country. We also took a look at automotive, being in the Southeast and knowing that that market is really growing. Plus we have MGI here, which is one of our largest manufacturers, which is a Japanese automotive supplier. And then in the film and television industry with the film studio, and certainly with all the filming that's taking place in Georgia, being able to bring in film and television productions and those businesses that serve that industry were key. And then finally, on machinery and equipment and metal fabrication operations, just look around at what we already had here in Paulding. There were a lot of metal fabrication operations, whether they were in the aerospace, like Westcott Engineering, or aerospace fabrications in Georgia. Those were companies involved in metalworking. And then machinery and equipment, we had some of those as well. Take a look at Simmons Engineering. They're one of the largest providers of machinery for the poultry industry. So we knew that the workforce was here to support those types of companies. And then finally, or next to last, is to increase the manufacturing employment in Paulding County by 7%. Back in March 2011, the most recent numbers we had at that time were there were approximately 900 manufacturing jobs in Paulding County. If you looked at our labor market, we were near last in terms of the manufacturing jobs we had here. And even today, if you look at how many jobs just in general we have in Paulding County, out of 159 counties, we are ranked 10th lowest in the number of jobs per capita. That's astounding considering this county is economically as healthy as it is, that we have so little jobs here. So that was a major challenge, but we believe we can increase that manufacturing number by 70% by 2016. And then finally, we wanted to create, as Mark alluded to earlier, high-paying jobs in Paulding County for our residents. The average wage for companies or for jobs in Paulding is about $30,700. So that's what we're looking at. So we're trying to create jobs that are above that number. So those are the goals. How do we go about achieving those goals? Recruitment and expansion strategies. A lot of marketing. We talk about working with our allies, but we also go to trade shows and missions that focus on those target industries that I talked about a few minutes ago. We work with site consultants and corporate real estate executives and industrial brokers in the region and nationally. We also do a lot of electronic. We're working on a new website right now. We do newsletters, we do emails, we do press releases for projects. And then we do the Pumpkins, Putts, and Golf Tournament. While that's a fundraising event for us, it's also a way to lift the profile of the community to key players outside of Paulding. And then finally, the real estate product and development, having those new industrial parks and sites and promoting them. Incentives. Every community has incentives. You have to have smart incentives. I think we have very smart incentives that we've created in Paulding County. Again, back in 2011, there were no incentives that we were utilizing. So we have now been able to utilize opportunity zones, property tax abatements, local Paulding County economic development grants. Through the Georgia Department of Labor, we have job training reimbursements we are able to offer to businesses. Certainly the state's Quick Start Workforce Program, which is considered the #1 workforce training program in the country, is a huge incentive for companies. It helps them get off the ground almost immediately in terms of their workforce. And then county-owned industrial sites and development, we'll talk about those that we brought online, but that helps us be competitive in terms of real estate prices. And then there's other things like industrial development bonds and low-interest loans, things like that. And then the county is working with us to fast-track the permit process and even reduce some permit fees when it's a major project coming in. The opportunity zone. Start with the greater Dallas area, which is where the opportunity zone primarily is located. The greater Dallas area has seen a lot of activity in the last 12 months, primarily the opportunity zone. This is the #1 incentive we are able to offer businesses because the credits that they earn go directly against their state corporate income tax and payroll withholding taxes. We started this process back in actually the end of 2011. It was approved in early 2012, and then the benefits of this zone started rolling in about July of last year, when we were working with a number of companies that we successfully brought to a successful conclusion, whether they were relocations or expansions. We were able to get, of the 7 projects that we announced, 5 of those occurred in the opportunity zone. That is an amazing, amazing number. Actually, I'm sorry, 5 of the 7. But this is the #1 tool we use, and it's why we're working on trying to create a second opportunity zone for Paulding County and the city of Hiram. The Dallas Industrial Park, this is a true success story. This property is located on West Memorial Drive. It was planned as a residential subdivision, 120 acres. The roads were put in, water, sewer, and then the housing market collapsed. And eventually the property became owned by the bank. As the Economic Development Organization for the county and working with our Industrial Building Authority in Lake Swafford, we realized that this property held the potential to be a great industrial park. And the price was pretty good since it was bank owned. So the IBA went out and they acquired it and we immediately started working to recruit businesses to this industrial park. Essentially, there were 4 or 5 sites that were carved out within the 120 acres. We already have commitments for 2 of those sites. Haddad is already located there, constructed its building, and the Sheriff's Office will be opening its new training facility in the back of the park. We also have a third project, 89, that we are working on a deal for the site you see in that top picture. We're optimistic that if we can get some things done with our partners at the state and the Metro Atlanta Chamber, that this will come to fruition, and we're cautiously optimistic, but this is still probably another 30 to 60 days out from happening. But if that were to happen, they would be the largest manufacturer in Paulding County, which is tremendous. Bottom line is that we brought this property as a community online probably about a year ago, a little less than that, and we already have it 75% committed for. That's an astounding number. The Haddad Southeast project is located on the east side of the park. Haddad supplies what we call film support units for television and film production. These are units that are converted trailers that are made into some high-end types of units that are used for production. So you'll have these units where the stars stay while they're shooting on site somewhere. You'll have makeup, you'll have hairstyling, wardrobe, things like that. They're a Pittsburgh-based company. They're the largest supplier of these units in the country. And they chose Paulding for its southeast location, primarily because of the film studio and the film industry that is growing here in Paulding. They will employ about 10 mechanics, drivers, and logistics specialists, and they were the first 10 in the park, and they're located in the Opportunity Zone. Certified DEF. This is another great story for Paulding. This is a company out of Utah. They supply what's called diesel exhaust fluid. This is a fluid that is required basically in all diesel vehicles by the EPA, and it helps the trucks and the vehicles burn cleaner emissions. They selected Paulding for their southeast distribution and packaging facility. They are in about 9,000 square feet of space located over on International Parkway. And they will be hiring for about 25 new jobs over the next 2 years. Again, great success story. We competed with multiple locations for the project. They looked in Cobb, they looked in Fulton, they looked in Douglas, they looked in Carroll, and Bartow as well. And what made the difference, I believe, was the customer service they received from Paulding Economic Development. Roy Blackston, who was the operations manager, he was going to be here today, but he's had an issue come up in the morning that he had to address. But if he were here, he would tell you that it was the customer service aspect that stood out. Anything they needed help with, whether it was suppliers, whether it was plumbing, you name it, cable connections, whatever, or internet connections, we were able to step in and provide the resources to get done what they needed. And the Opportunity Zone certainly was a key part. If they're hiring 20 to 25 employees, which they plan on doing, that's a significant amount of tax credits for them. The next area I want to talk about is what I refer to as the Paulding Corporate Corridor, which is emerging. You can call this the Paulding Corporate Corridor, you can call it the Greater Hiram area. I like the Paulding Corporate Corridor. It's actually almost becoming a loop at this point, but essentially is bounded by the intersection of 278 and Bill Carew Parkway, where the new hospital is going. It follows south on Bill Carew Parkway past the film studio and the Paulding Commerce Park, connects back up to 92 and goes across where the East Hiram Parkway is being completed and picks up that older industrial area of Hiram where companies like Bronte and Dallas Millworks are located. Connects back out to 278 and includes the entire retail area. So whenever we meet with companies, we are constantly touting the Paulding Corporate Corridor as a very viable location for business because it has a lot of those services they need to help support their operations, such as the retail, and it shows extremely well. So let's talk about some of the projects that are going on in the corridor. The first is Wellstar Paulding Hospital. And while Paulding County Economic Development is not directly involved in this project, we're looking to bring in some medical providers and service providers that will complement the hospital. But what this hospital has done, besides creating 500 new jobs when it opens, besides being a significant investment, besides being the first hospital that Wellstar has built from the ground up, it establishes credibility that this is a very healthy and viable community, and it encourages businesses to look at Paulding from a different light. They see this ultra-modern, state-of-the-art facility going up at one of our key intersections, and it says to them, hey, there's something going on in this community that we need to look at a little bit closer. So it sets the tone for what we're about to show them, and it is the gateway to the corridor. As you go further south from the hospital, of course, you come to the Atlanta Film Studio, which opened back in January of 2012, but it was in July of 2012 that the first production took place at the studio with the filming of the movie 42, starring Harrison Ford and Chadwick Boseman, which is a fantastic movie if you have not seen it. All the interior scenes in that movie were filmed at our studio, and it really elevated the opportunities here for the film industry as they look at Atlanta and Georgia and the Southeast. We have a great facility that's well run, and the movie really helped set the tone for getting the next production that came in, which was done in May of this year, which is an AMC pilot called Halt and Catch Fire. The good news is that that pilot has been picked up by AMC, and now the Industrial Building Authority, which owns the studio, they were just waiting to hear whether that, for season 1, which will be about a 7-month production schedule, whether that will take place here in Paulding. We're optimistic it will, but we're waiting to hear. And they've left everything in that studio just in case they get to go ahead and do it here. So we're excited about that. And again, the spin-offs of that, but that is a perfect example of companies coming in because of that studio. Paulding Commerce Park. I got a funny story to tell. I hope Chris doesn't mind me. Chris Parsons from Emerald telling this story. But the Paulding Commerce Park is a fantastic success story, a redevelopment success story. Many of you know that this site on Bill Caruth used to be one of Paulding County's spray fields. Clean field, but it was a spray field used by the Water and Sewer Department. When they decommissioned that spray field, they turned it over to the Industrial Building Authority to develop as an industrial park. The site is a beautiful site. It has rolling hills, it has a pond, it's wooded. Sometimes not necessarily great for your standard industrial, but for companies that are looking for that higher end look, whether they be Fortune 1000 or international companies, it really has that look and feel, that campus environment that is appealing to them. So instead of making it a traditional industrial park, we decided this should be something special because we have the ability to make it into something that currently doesn't exist in Paulding County. So the story is that Interval, which will complete their building in October at the park, again, they weren't looking at Paulding County, but because we were developing a product that we thought would appeal to them, we met with them and we shared with them what we were going to do. Now they went out and looked at about 4 or 5 sites that day without us. And it just so happened that the gentleman that was working the project, who was their basically site consultant, as well as Tim McNeil, who you saw earlier in the slide, who's president of North American Operations. Tim was in town, and we had a great meeting with him. But they went out without Blake and I, and they went out to look at the sites. So a little bit later in the day, I got a call from the consultant who said, hey, we went out and we looked at all 4 sites you mentioned and you recommended we look at. And there's really only one site that we think will actually work. And we said, well, what site is that? And we said, well, it's a Paulding Commerce Park site. And he started laughing because this guy was from the area, so he knew the history of the site. And I said, well, what's so funny? He said, well, the comment from Tim was that he loved this site. Of all the sites that they looked at in Metro Atlanta, this is the site they liked the best. And he said, but Tim's comment was he liked it because there wasn't a lot of crap around it. So story, and it's true. And David would say that that crap is gold, and it's true. This site is working, and it's generating a tremendous amount of interest from those types of companies we thought would find it appealing. In fact, we got a proposal out that went out yesterday for a very substantial manufacturer that has immediately jumped on this and really has been inquiring over the last 24 hours in more detailed questions about what we can do and what are in-store requirements and things like that. So again, it's generating the interest we want, and it's going to be a great part. That shows you a little bit of the first phase, the layout. We're looking at 3 buildings. The building you see on the rendering at the top and to the left, that's Interwol's building. And then we have some room to do some construction, about 70,000 square foot building on the lower part, south of the lake. And then we have like an office building envisioned for the corner site. And then we have, on the one behind that, the next slide down, you can see that we can put about 200,000, even up to 400,000 square feet of industrial space, either directly behind the Interwol building or southwest of the pond. Great opportunity for Class A development. And also it has protected covenants that will ensure that that park remains and continues to develop in the way that it was envisioned. In fact, Interwol helped us develop the covenants for the park. Talk about the Interwol project briefly. The Interwol project, again, they are a Swiss-based company, and they're the largest manufacturer of conveyor systems in the world. Again, they looked all over to find a location. They looked at existing buildings, they looked at sites, and they were close to either all this in either Fulton or Douglas County, or they were going to just put it up in Indiana, which is Ron Aviation and everything we do, but it's Ron Key. The Ron Key company, Rocky Packaging, is an Italian-based company just outside of Milan, Italy. They've been around since the 1970s, and they are one of the leaders in manufacturing equipment for the bottling industry. Rocky makes really 3 types of machines. They make liquid fill machines, they make capping machines, and they make bottle sorting machines. It is a family-owned business. They're into their 2nd and 3rd generation of Rockies that are running the company. I've been to their facility this past year, and it is a fantastic, well-run company. They've also made an investment in one of our older properties in the community, and the building is looking fantastic. They recently purchased 63 Duncan Circle, which is in the Sunnyland Industrial Park in Hiram, and they have set up shop. They have relocated their U.S. headquarters to Paulding County from New Jersey. This will be everything from headquarters, assembly, sales, service, everything that you expect from a headquarters location, in which this is their only U.S. facility. 35 new jobs are projected, capital investment of around $1.4 million. We helped Rocky with the site search. We've been doing some work with employee recruitment, building improvements, permitting, suppliers, anything that they need, we're going to help them with. And again, customer service, that's what we're all about. And I'd like to take this time to introduce Matthew Pearson, who is the Technical Services Manager for Rocky. And he would like to make just a few remarks about Rocky and kind of the decision to come to Paulding and what it was like working with Paulding County and Paulding County Economic Development.
Good morning, everybody. I'm not used to standing here with a microphone, but basically, I just have to say that Jamie Gilbert and the authority and Tommy Graham were the ones that really helped us to find this area, this spot, and they just been stellar. I can't thank him enough for his help. It's like moving to New York, new areas. I did purchase a home here. You come in, and you don't have any support. You don't know. It's like what the lay of land is, who the suppliers are, who you're going to deal with, from finding insurance to finding an electrician, etc. The same thing for a business. Even more so that we have to find. I had to find a sign company. That sign built pay for the building. Call up Jamie. Jamie is like boom, just right on it. Gets me the information, gets me people, gives me options, and it saves me so much time and effort. And this has been stellar with the support that we've had. As we're going forward now, the like our company is taking an approach where we're moving from New Jersey, we're consolidating, we're doing a test in this area to see if we can do some light manufacturing for the company. Our main company in Italy produces almost $100 million a year of business. And what they want to do is they want to actually split that off and give part of it to the U.S. So this is a test at the moment with the expectation in about 2 years that we're going to actually do another investment, maybe more major investment with more manufacturing and actually more jobs. At that point. So there's great potential for us. There's great potential for the South and this area. Coming from the North, when I look at property values and what we bought our building for, and especially for Europe, the difference from Europe, when I told them the price of the building and then what the taxes were here, they just about fell over. And my associates up in New Jersey, the New Jersey area, that building that we bought would be 4 times the cost. The taxes would be at least 5 times higher. Okay, so this is a real advantage for you, for this area. Manufacturing is coming back to the U.S. And you guys probably, a lot of you know more than I do, but in all the articles that I'm reading, right now we're on par with Mexico as far as like, where Mexico was taking jobs from companies that we did business with in the U.S. We're relocating manufacturing down there. The U.S. is now as competitive with Mexico for cost, so we're actually seeing a lot of equipment that we saw move out from our customers in Mexico is moving back in here to the U.S. At the same hand, with China, they're saying that by 2016 or sooner, that we're going to be on par with China. And that looks like very much like that's going to happen. We've seen the same thing where there's more companies are coming in. Within our own association in Italy, which is called UCIMA, the same deal. A lot of the UCIMA members are actually splitting off and making investments in the U.S. because the U.S. is recognized as a major manufacturer. Manufacturing jobs pay very well. For us, in our jobs and positions we're going to create, most of those jobs will average in the 40,000 plus neighborhood, okay, per year. My techs that I send out in the field are from $60,000 to $100,000. These are jobs that pay well. These are jobs that give good benefits, and so there's great potential for you. You have a good location, you have a good area. We were advised to come and look on the west side. This has been spectacular. So, again, thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Matthew. When I was over at their facility, their headquarters in Italy back in May, and had a chance to really tour it and talk with the Rocky family, they said 50% of our market right now is in the U.S. But as Matthew said, 100% of the product is being shipped from Italy. And as Matthew said, they want to do more and more of the manufacturing. Their goal is to basically have what they're serving in the U.S. and Canadian markets. They want that manufactured here. And the way to get there for them is they got to find a very reliable supplier network. So I want to thank Georgia Power and Bill Story, who's here, for helping me get together a very comprehensive list of machinists that are available in our region. And I also want to thank Chris Parsons from Interroll for agreeing to meet with Rocky. We had a meeting with Rocky about 2 or 3 weeks ago to help in that effort to find the suppliers, because Interroll has a little operation that they have down in Sunnyland, just up the street from Rocky's facility. There's just a metal fab shop. But because it's metal fabrication, they have been working with machinists and they have been producing a lot of the parts that go on that equipment. So we're trying to connect local businesses with companies coming in. It's a win-win for everybody. The Paulding Airport held its first air show, which was a success. And the second one, which will be this October, will be even better and bigger. And that is really coming together well. And a couple of things like Industrial Asset Management Council, which is your corporate real estate executive network. We attended their conference in the fall to promote Paulding. And I'm just going to kind of skip over some of this other stuff because we really hit on a lot of the highlights. And you can see, the announcement of the Hiram Paulding County Opportunity Zone was huge. We work on that, and we're getting close to try to submit our urban redevelopment plan to the county and city for approval, which will then go in terms of an opportunity zone application to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. And again, when the visit to Rocky and to Interval back in May as part of the eBay show, which is another aerospace show in Geneva, when we were there, we were able to hit both of those companies, meet with their CEOs, and really discuss the plans for what they want to do here in Paulding County. Again, very worthwhile visits to those businesses. So what does that mean for 2012, 2013 in terms of our new and expanding businesses? We had 7 new and expanding businesses, 5 new companies, 2 existing industries. Those projects will account for 177 jobs and about $12.5 million in new private investment. And the other interesting thing to look at for this year is how we changed from when we ended the 2012 fiscal year on June 30th, 2012, and we ended the 2013 fiscal year on June 30th. You can see, I just jumped to the bottom number, 61 prospects the previous year, 84 this year. 38% increase in terms of the activity. But I think the other interesting part is how many more real projects, not just companies calling us, but face-to-face meetings with those companies, visiting Paulding and meeting with them directly took place. We had a 69% increase in terms of the projects from the previous year. And then if you look at the locates and expansions, we increased that by 250%, 2 from 7. And I can tell you that with what we're seeing right now in the pipeline, I think within maybe 30 to 60 days, we could exceed the job numbers of this year with just 2 projects that are close to happening. So, did Paulding meet its economic development goals, and are we making progress towards them? I think the answer is yes. The business brand is being established. You can talk to any of our clients, and they will tell you that. You have testimonials in your pocket folders that show the perception and the Paulding County economic development has created among our clients. And the business brand is getting out there. And John Woodward, who was with the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, will speak in a few minutes about our outline relationships. But those dependable relationships with our economic development partners across the region and state are being developed. We are becoming a go-to county in which they can depend on to bring projects to us, and they know the type of treatment and the type of work that will go in to trying to make those projects happen in the region and the state. We have our competitive portfolio of incentives with the Opportunity Zone, and we have property tax guidelines we use, and we have the county-owned industrial sites that make our real estate prices competitive for the region. You're seeing the growth of the international companies coming into Paulding, which was one of our goals with Rocky and Interroll. And we talked about those manufacturing jobs and trying to increase that number by 70%. Well, of the 177 new jobs, about 100 of those are going to be directly manufacturing occupations. So we're seeing that increase. High-paying jobs are being created in Paulding. Of the new jobs that have been created, the average salary for them is going to be around $39,030. That's 27% higher than the current average salary for jobs in Paulding. So I think our goals have been set. We're making progress towards achieving them. And what I'd like to do now is have John Woodward, who is the Senior Director of Florida Investment for the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, talk just for a few minutes about Paulding County, the new Paulding County, and what the image is for Paulding when it comes to the regional economic development project.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. I didn't realize, I'm just now seeing the slide for the first time, the new Paulding County is in quotation marks, which implies some sort of formal presentation, which I do not have. But I can easily do this off the cuff because it is indeed so natural what Paulding has going on. I'm John Woodward. I'm Senior Director of Foreign Investment in the Economic Development Division of the Metro Atlanta Chamber. And our territory, the Metro Atlanta Chamber, a lot of folks, even our members, don't realize this, is actually the 29-county region of Metro Atlanta. That's not any arbitrary choice on our part. What the U.S. government says is the Metro Atlanta region, 29 counties, of which, of course, Paulding is one. And I think Mark mentioned in his introductory remarks collaboration and competition. And that's a lot of what economic development is all about. Jamie was mentioning some of these other projects, and he mentioned some other counties here in the region. Obviously, from a Metro Chamber perspective, we try not to get into any internecine sort of things. We want to promote the region as a whole. But I will say that it has become increasingly clear in the past 12, 18 months and James said up here, the go-to county, Paulding has become a go-to county for us. When we are out there prospecting, which is our chief goal. In fact, I would call myself a scout, like Jamie uses his analogy, but he knows I'm a Falcons fan, so he didn't include me in the slide presentation. Rise up. But when we're out there prospecting and scouting for projects, obviously, just like Matthew mentioned from Raunchy, we want to have an easy person to go to, an easy community to bring in. And Paulding certainly has proved that with PCED, with bringing those assets to bear, with bringing that information, the resources that you need. Economic development is a lot more than just putting up a PowerPoint presentation or connecting someone to your internet provider. That's certainly part of it, sometimes more the mundane parts of it, but it's a lot of hard work. And quite frankly, the hardest of the work comes on the local level. It comes right down here because this is really where the deal is done. The deal is done on the local level. And it requires an intricate knowledge not only of your locality, but of the profession of economic development, all those things that you need to do. And Paulding County PCD here has really achieved that. That makes us, as the scouts, feel comfortable and confident that we want to recommend someone. Okay, come to Metro Atlanta. By the way, here's some example. Here's Paulding County, for example. And a tremendous example of this is the branding that Paulding has done, that the locality here has done on the aerospace industry in particular. That's a growing sector. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, by the way, with the huge Airbus plant going down in Mobile, and of course the Boeing expansion up in Charleston. Well, hello, between Charleston and Mobile, where you have a lot of great opportunity for suppliers of both of those major manufacturers. So we've seen a lot of European aerospace prospects. One, in fact, we worked, I pulled Jamie on it, we sourced that one, and worked our focuses off on that one. I don't think it's going to come to the state anyway, but not for lack of effort, and certainly not for lack of product here in Paulding. We brought them here. And it's a tremendous product, and here again, it's an easy sell once you get out there. So we've been extremely pleased with that. I think the county is, again, new Paulding County, I don't have any quotation marks, but it has indeed come a long way. It's come on our radar screen from the regional level. It has become a go-to place. It's got a tremendous product, a tremendous asset. Pleased to have Rompi here and Interroll here. Again, I'm the international guy, so seeing more of these international companies coming on in is certainly a tremendous trend. So that's one thing that we have seen that's been a new development here. We, from the Metro Atlanta Chamber perspective, we congratulate Jamie, congratulate the chairman, the mayors, congratulate the team that you have in place here, because it really is. It's a top-notch team. And it's all about competition. When you have a top-notch team in place like this, the competition is easier to win. And the collaboration part, it makes it that much easier for us to collaborate. So again, I commend you on that. I commend Jamie and the whole team here. And we look forward to continuing working with some big projects, and maybe our friends from Italy or Switzerland can help us bring in some of their colleagues from Europe. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. One other thing I forgot to mention, I want to introduce Chris Parsons. Chris, stand up. Chris is our plant manager over at Interroll at the facility that's there in Sunnyland, as they work to try to transition everything to this new regional center of excellence. But Chris has been an integral part of working with us the last year as well. Let's talk about our projects and initiatives going forward in 2013-14. Two projects that are very hot right now. I mentioned Project 89, which is looking at the Dallas Industrial Park, and also Project Line, which is looking at the Sunnyland Industrial Park. Combined, those two projects would exceed the job numbers we've had for this year. one has property under contract, and the other we're working on a contract for. But again, there are some things we have to do with our folks at the state before they're ready to commit to Paulding. So we're still a ways away, but we're close. Grand openings for Interroll and Rocky. I think Rocky is planning to probably have a community type of grand opening in early 2014. We are going to be talking with Interroll possibly about doing something at the end of this year, although they're making a very big push in grand opening at the Modex show. And I'll talk about that in a second, which is in March. We are working to build a new trade show booth. When we've gone to these aerospace shows previously, we've gone with the airport and used their booth. But this is actually going to be a Paulding County Economic Development booth, one that we can take to different trade shows, whether it be packaging and equipment, whether it be automotive. We're going to be able to go to these shows and represent Paulding County. The other thing is we're going to get a second design for the panels that will be for the Paulding Aerospace Alliance. So we'll have that at the expo at the Paulding Air Show this year, and that's what we'll end up probably taking to any kind of future aerospace trade shows, whether it be NBAA or MRO Americas, but we'll actually have a Paulding Aerospace Alliance booth. Pack Expo is coming up in September. That is for the packaging industry. Rocky and Interroll will both be there. We are going as attendees. Rocky has already started working with us to identify some companies that may be similar to theirs, that have needs to open operations in a place like Paulding County. So we're going to be making some contact with them before the show and meeting them at the show. And Tim McGill and I have talked via email last week, and Tim is going to be introducing me to some of those companies they'd like to see come to Paulding. So it's going to be a very good show for us. If you think about packaging and equipment, that industry, between Rocky, Interroll, companies like Cadillac Products, Simmons Engineering, these are all a growth sector for us, and Paulding is demonstrating that we can support these types of businesses. The Modex show I mentioned, that's going to be Interroll's really big unveiling. That's held every 2 years here in Atlanta, and it's manufacturing, supply chain, and distribution industries and companies that are represented. That's where we'll have our first use of the new booth. And in fact, we're 5 booths away from Interroll, who will be there with a major exhibit. And because they will be promoting their Paulding location at that show and actually bringing people from the show up to see it, it's a great opportunity to go market with them. So we'll be there just a few booths down promoting Paulding County as a new home of Interroll. And hopefully they'll be there talking about what a great fit it was for them. So we're excited about that. The second Salute to America Air Show will be held the first week of October. And if you need any information, talk to Blake. He is here. But that promises to be an outstanding event to promote our assets to the aerospace industry. We continue to work on the Paulding County City of Hiram Opportunity Zone. Patrick Vickers from DCA is here, Joe Meadows from the Northwest Regional Commission, and Robbie from the City of Hiram. That's kind of the group that's all working to get this thing going. And so I'm starting with our commissioners and Mike Jones as well. But we hope to have that application submitted to DCA for the Opportunity Zone by mid to late, maybe middle September, late September, and hopefully get an approval on it by the end of the year. That's key. End of the year approval is key for us. The Dallas Industrial Park build-out, I mentioned that. There's some big prospect, as I mentioned, looking at that site. That may leave 1 or 2 more properties for development, so we're making a big push through that. Working to build out the Paulding Commerce Park, and hopefully Interroll and Rocky can be of assistance with that, as I mentioned earlier. And then the website, the brand new website. Our website is currently down. That's why we're going with a new website and a new server and host. And we have hired one of the top economic development website builders in the country. And John Woodward, we actually talked to John because the company's out of Richmond, Virginia, which is where John used to be. And I asked him, you know the company? And he helped us get some really opinions on the company and what they do. And they're the best of the best when it comes to designing economic development websites. So that site will be up probably, I would guess, in early November. And it's going to be a first-class site for Paulding County. And then the last item I want to talk about is really the funding as we move forward and working with the chamber, which has been great as a partner in helping us do this. This is the time that we need to kick off our funding for the new fiscal year. The new fiscal year started July 1st. We're going through 2014 through June 30th. The commitments the businesses made initially to us are up for 3 years, so now we're working to get more investors in. The chamber is helping us with pumpkins, putts, and Paulding to get that done, and they're gracious enough at the play shoot to allow us to promote the event. So we are kicking it off, and we have in your pocket folders just a little bit of information, and David will talk about this as well, about the need to have that private sector commitment. If you're interested in becoming a partner and helping us do the things that we're doing, we need you to step up, and you've done it in a big way the last 3 years, and now we need to do it for the next 3 as well. So if you complete the card, take a look at what's on there, what you may be comfortable doing in terms of investment. We'll follow up, the chamber will follow up with you, and we'll set up a meeting, and we'll figure out how we can partner together. Between pumpkins, putts, and Paulding, and talking to the companies, really in the last week or so, as this thing has moved forward with the chamber and with EBO, with Yolanda and Carolyn and her staff working, we have already gotten for this new year $41,000 in commitments. Now that's for the capital campaign, and it's for pumpkins, putts, and Paulding. And you can see these are some of the investors that have already committed to us for the year. And the goal is to raise about $75,000 by December 31st that will help us with the funding between now and the end of the year for us, which is June 30th. We can't rely completely on our public sector partners to get this done. We need your support to help with this. The organization and the team is doing a lot to help you with your bottom lines, whether it's with the Opportunity Zone or whether it's with other things in terms of the customer supplier network. We are here as the resource to help you be successful over the cost, but that funding component of the private sector really does need to be there as we move forward. So I want to take this time then to now turn it over to our Commission Chairman, David Austin, who will kind of close things out and talk a little bit about the future of economic development in Paulding, and again, the importance of having that public-private partnership and what it means and how that was the vision for the organization.
Let's hear it for Jamie. Wonderful job. Thank you for your board. Just think what we could have gotten if he had not gone to Clemson and gone to UGA. Oh, it's fun. Wonderful job. You know, if you think back in the first 2 weeks of '09 in January, we assembled a group very similar to this and said, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to move forward with economic development? Do you want to change from being a bedroom community? Our number one industry at that time, which was in the hole, was building industry. Home building was our number one industry. So I'd like to bring that back. Hopefully not as aggressive as we were doing, and we're doing that through the industry that's coming to the fall. I'd like to thank my Board of Commissioners for the faith they've had in this economic development, our partners on the funding side, the City of Dallas, City of Hiram, and the Chamber. We all work great together, so it's a wonderful opportunity. I'd like to introduce my daughter, Janie. For me, she's taken away the campaign side of the worry of this job, and has handled it. A lot of stuff she makes me do, but I want to thank her for that, and a lot of the ideas that we have today come from a lot of you folks that are in the room. Now, the other side of this is some people say, well, you're full of it. Well, I am. I've got Project 89, I've got Project Cool, I've got Project, I call it 1,300 acres, that I can't tell you about. You know, Mike Dugan, our senator's here, and Mike Bradley, and you deal with the state, and you just have to keep it all balled up, and that's hard for me to do, because you want to take every opportunity to get out and brag and thank people. We got the Department of Labor here with Fred Aiken, and it's nice to have somebody that's your cousin out there helping you from that end of it. But look around the room, we've got bonding council here that's helping us move a lot of these things forward. We've got one of the largest landowners in the county that's, has had faith in what we're doing here. But we need your help on the economic development side. If you want to partner up with this team, it's important places. We're starting to get attention from all over the world. We've got world leaders like Alan that has companies all over the world, so it's great having him on this board. But this is a golden opportunity for us. And if you just think back to the first part of '09, we were just in here putting all these minds together. And it's amazing what you do when you assemble a team like this and move forward. People want to be part of great progress. So my hat's off to the chamber. They've got a big event this weekend with the Play Shoot. It's one of our biggest fundraisers, and this just goes hand in glove with all these organizations working together with the cities and the county to move forward. And a lot of counties, you have a problem where the sheriff and the commissioner doesn't get along. And in fact, we get accused of going to class to figure out how to not like them, and they get accused of going to class to talk about not liking us. But not only is he a great sheriff, but he has helped them bring Project 89 here. So when I look around this room, there's ambassadors in this room. Everybody's an ambassador. Mason, thank you for what you did. Tommy Gray, everybody's an ambassador. But if you want to be part of the team that's on fire, and as we talk to people from Henry County and other places, they want to be here. They want to be a part of this. So it's exciting. I want to thank you all for all of your efforts, everything you've done to help us be successful coming out today. I know we ran a little bit over, but Jamie's so excited. It's just great to have somebody that's got that much enthusiasm, believes in what he's doing, and he's out there living it every single day. So I want to thank you. Jamie, do we have a moment for any questions? If anybody wants to ask a question, if anybody have any questions about Paulding County, where we're going, where your investment is, that type of thing. But again, I'd like to thank my board of commissioners for the faith they have and moving forward. When I see what Fraser, I think about Paulding County really had no fiber in the ground. And they led an effort that has helped bring fiber to Paulding County. So that's a wonderful thing that helps us with neighborhood stabilization. As you see houses that are empty, and they put a program together, and in the first part of that program, it was $5 million. A lot of people didn't have teams in place to make that happen. We did. So I think we ended up with about $3 million of that. And then NSP3 came along, and they just designated it. So we're somewhere between $3 and $5 million towards the housing project to get houses back on the market, get them refurbished. So we've got some exciting things happening with Opportunity Zone coming up at Hiram, joint meetings that we're getting ready to have. So anybody have any questions? Okay, check them out.
Thank you, David. Before we close this out, I got to tell you, there are two people in my life that are key. One is on the personal side, and that's my wife, Shannon. The other is on my business side, and that's my executive economic development assistant, Yolanda Newell, who is the most awesome assistant. Warren mentioned earlier about having to keep me straight sometimes. She does that because of the schedules we have and the different things going on. She keeps me organized when I have so many other things going on, and she's great. She helped plan this day and get everything coordinated with food, the tables, everything, and she's just awesome. I want to thank her for everything she does to promote economic development in Paulding. She's great. And that's it. We appreciate you all coming out and look forward to some exciting news in the coming year. Thank you.